There's three types of people in the world. Which one are you? Three types of people. Number one, the follower, aka the sheep. Number two, the leader. Can be a wolf, but not always. There are good leaders too, shepherders of sheep. Number three, the observer. People that are kind of outside the game of life. Just watching from an outside perspective, but with no real desire to really get their hands dirty. People like this are more introspective. They just want to learn. Now, how do you tell which one you are? The sheep mind will always follow because it has no conviction and it doesn't know. It doesn't have clarity of direction and it has no internal conviction. And so it's always going to follow. That's a slave mind. It doesn't know. It doesn't have esoteric reference points. It doesn't have a strong mental map. So characteristics of a sheep would be riding whatever wave is trending. Now, smart people do that too, just to try to, put food on their table. But sheep do it just because, just for the sake of being part of the wave. The other characteristic of a sheep would be inability to think for themselves or having little conviction or belief in their own opinions about things. Just basically people who are easily swayed. Number two, the leader. These people they do have conviction and they can be smart, but not always. Generally, leaders, they just conduct more energy. They have a bigger aura. They're more dominant, more alpha, and people follow them. Characteristics of leaders are being less agreeable or more disagreeable, as opposed to the sheep who just agrees with anything. Leaders tend to not shy away from conflict as much. Leaders tend to develop their own minds and think for themselves. Leaders tend to be more knowledgeable, because if you're going to be the alpha, you have to be dominant in some way, shape, or form, whether physically, mentally, or emotionally. You have to be bigger or more expanded in at least one of those areas, right? But you can be dominant just by virtue of, sometimes if it's a more primitive situation like in sports, just by virtue of being the biggest and strongest. If it's in a circle of gossiping girls, you could be the leader just because you gossip the best or go the hardest with it, right? You're just more of a bitch. You just have more of an emotional sway, right? Or you could be the alpha at work just because you're the one that actually knows everything and people can't even do their jobs without you. So there's different ways of being the leader. Now, the third character archetype is the observer. These are the people that just sit back and watch life. They don't necessarily have a desire to intermingle socially. They're oftentimes antisocial. Leaders have a great work ethic usually. Sheep, usually so-so work ethic. Mediocre work ethic. Observers can really be anywhere on the spectrum. Sometimes they are geniuses, but they just don't like work. Sometimes they can be... Generally, observers are the smartest of the three archetypes, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to put in the work to succeed in the material world. Observers are more focused with theory, mental abstractions, mental simulations of what is going on. These type of people would be great for stock trading or stock predictions. These are the type of people that become sages or shamans or oracles. These are the type of people that just want to know. They just want to know. And I believe these type of people are more often than not the closest to God. Because if you're just sitting back observing everything, you're going to know the most, right? You can't hear anything if you're talking, right? They're not so concerned with upholding an ego like a leader, and they're not so insecure to just be washed over in whatever wave like a sheep. Observers have their own mind, and they use it to astral travel or make predictions or bridge a gap between different mental concepts society is struggling with. Like these are the type of people who become great philosophers. So the reason why I say these type of people tend to be the closest to God is they are the ones that are like learning the most. So they're technically the ones that are least lost out of the three archetypes. Sheep are the most lost. They're like the fallen little demon minions in hell. The leaders are like the stars, the fallen angels in the abyss that are navigating or commanding all the legions in hell. And then the observers are like the ones in heaven that are above the whole thing, just looking at it. So 1, 2, 3, there you have it, right? Because if you're searching or following anything, then that means you're lost. If you're not trying to necessarily follow anything, then if you're just trying to learn, that's like being the most closest to God. It's going to open you up to the most new experiences and bliss. And we can always evolve our minds to the point where there's no more doubt or no more fear. But to do that, you have to pull your mind out of ego games. You have to pull your mind out of worshipping something. That's why people join religions or groups or cults. That's a sheep mind. Type of people that make religions, those are leaders, but they're still doing something that's demonic. Do you see what I'm saying? Observers just see the whole thing for what it is, and in that sense sort of transcend the whole thing. So that's why I believe the observer is, I don't want to say the best archetype to be, because technically we need all three for the world to function, but there's the most spiritual power in the archetype of the observer. So thank you, and so it is. Have a sublime good day, everyone. Subscribe to my channel.